Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Pele Yoetz. Today we're talking about animals, and I think this is a subject that I think many of us like animals, but I think we're always confused as to what are the guidelines when it comes to animals, because some people are very machmir and they don't have animals in their house. Sometimes with kids it's hard, you want an animal in the house, but the Torah does have, guidelines as to how we are to treat these animals. Because after all, they are creations of HaShem. And we're going to get into that. And I just don't you love the fact that even things that you think are so random, or you think that they are not as important, but there's always, that's so great that the sages, they have all this wisdom about everything. And we're going to talk about it. It says our sages in Shabbat 128b said, causing pain to animals is a violation of the Torah mitzvot. A person must feed his animals before he eats, as our sages said in Berachot 40a. Learn from the verse Devarim 11:15. And I, God, will give grass in the field to your animals, and afterwards, and you will eat. This is because the animals are dependent on their owner, and he is dependent upon the one who spoke and the world came into being. So, we actually happen to have two cats who they're at this point, one of them is about mid-age, still like a youngster. We got him right before we became frum. And the other one, my gosh, I think I've had him. He's had a good life, put it this way. And we've had them for a long time. And this is something that we also practice. We feed them before. This causes pain to an animal when they see you eating. They themselves are hungry. They're dependent. They're thirsty. They cannot fend for themselves, and especially if they're inside, if they're domesticated animals, even more so, because at least animals that are outside, which still, that's got its own set of, hurdles to get past, but animals that are inside, whether they're birds, whether they're fish, whether they're cats, whether they're dogs, they can't go up to the faucet and get the water. They can't open up the can or the bag. They can't do this. I mean, they themselves are showing such restraint in not digging the whole bag open. And so we have to be sensitive. HaShem is very mindful of this, and he goes as far as to say it. So if he says it, it's something to really take serious. And it says, the story from the time of the Arizal has already been told about a man who was punished with death of his children because of the pain he caused to some small birds. The birds had a basket upon which they would climb after their mother. His wife removed the basket without even knowing that it was used by the fledglings, and was punished. A wise man will listen and add insight to fulfill the will of Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, not to raise chicks at all, for it is nearly impossible to be so vigilant that they should not suffer any pain. Most of them die due to falling or become prey to cats, rats, and etc. This is a pain of the soul, and its absence is preferred. It is possible that this commercial need will be satisfied by non-Jews, inasmuch a good man for a man to raise fowl, whenever it is necessary, should buy a slaughtered one. If a person finds them unavailable and he needs them regularly, he must be vigilant and command his children and household members to be careful to feed the birds at the appropriate time. The responsibility is his, and the punishment for malfeasance is severe. Especially if they are enclosed in a coop, the owner needs to have added compassion on them and guarantee early provisions of their food in order that he not transgress, causing undue pain to animals. So we see even here the suggestion of sages. Now, thankfully, I think a lot of us, we will not be raising chickens, right? But if you're someone like my grandmother, where they are raising chickens, so they are very mindful of this. And that's why you see a lot of farmers, they go out very early in the morning, and they take care of, the animals in the field first, and then they go out and go back home and eat. So it states that from this, one can extrapolate to all the people who are dependent on him, such as children, his servants, and the servants of the community. They can be likened unto chickens that are enclosed in a coop, whose eyes are lifted until their owner. A person needs to be assiduous and to make every effort to feed them their just fill in a timely fashion before he eats. By the measure that a man treats others, he is treated by Shemaim. HaShem will provide him with all his needs in the proper time. Behold, the halakha decisors dispute whether or not causing pain to a human being is a scriptural offense, as is causing pain to an animal. Some argue that it is a fortiori logic, and all the more so should be prescribed, whereas others suggest that the scriptural prohibition, which was not stated except in regards to animals who do not possess the intelligence to tolerate and consent. In any case, a person should be at least acknowledge that it is scriptural violation to cause pain to small children, as they do not have the capacity to forbear. One must be extremely cautious not to hurt them. So this is, HaShem makes the point, about the chickens in the coop, because if we have an obligation to treat them in such a manner, how much more do we have an obligation especially to our children? The children have to come first. Their well-being has to come first. If they're hungry, we have to feed them first. If they've gotten into a messy way, we have to clean them immediately. Their health and well-being is something that is not forgotten by HaShem. And the way you treat someone who does not, like that saying, what's the ultimate chesed? And it's burying the dead, because they can't even repay you back. I mean, HaShem, he's so kind. He has so much rachmanis. It's very heartwarming. But again, we see this in certain times. When you see HaShem, he puts like the lowliest of the low. And he's trying to tell you that, even just like the bread, if we have to cover the bread first before we make the bracha over the wine, because the bread technically is supposed to go first. And to avoid the shame of the bread, we cover it. So how much more so for that of a human being? Something very, it's so profound. I think I don't know if we get it. We just get it, I hope that at least for myself, that this lesson comes with me the next time I feel like I'm going to lose control and, blow up at the seams. But a man should be careful not to cause harm to any person, because Hashem will bring to justice even the hidden matters, as it stated in Kohelet 12:14. Our sages in Hagigah 5a explain that even if a person kills a louse or spits in front of his friend such that he is disgusted and pained, he will be held accountable in the heavenly judgment, even though he did not intend to cause him any grief. If only for this reason a person should shudder and faint, he must do everything in his power in order that his presence will be pleasing to other people. Even if it has been decreed that a man should suffer a particular injustice, let not he be the one who facilitates it. We will write more about this in the entry of Rachmanut. So again, this is almost like that previous lesson we had about good tidings. Just because, for lack, I'm just going to paraphrase for lack of a better word, even if somebody is deserving of what's coming upon him, don't be the stick in Hashem's hand to do it. Because remember, just as every father, I don't know about you guys, but back in the day, my mom used to tell me to pick a switch, a branch off the tree, and you better not make it too thin, right? But what does a parent do? What does a father do? Like your father, he tells you to go out and pick that switch off the tree, and he gives you a potch. And of course, it hurts. You're upset. But what does he do? He breaks that stick in the end, and he embraces his child, we hope, And this is the same thing. This is why you don't want to be the stick in the hand, because then you too will also get, let someone else carry out, let someone else do it. Don't be in a rush. Don't be that Debbie Downer we were talking about in the previous lesson. Don't be that person. Don't be in such a rush to volunteer to be the stick in Hashem's hand to punish someone else, because remember, Hashem will also treat you the same way that you treat others. So something to remember. And again, we learned this all about the treatment of animals, and very good lesson. I mean, it's all about the way we treat each other. So that's it for today, and I hope we'll all be together again soon. Bezrat HaShem.